In this video, we're talking about the 4 quadrants of Salt Lake County that you need to know about. Now, thankfully, Salt Lake County is very easily split up into these 4 different sections, and I've talked about this before here on the channel, but I'm going to give you a further breakdown of what to expect in each of these different areas. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, before I pull up the map here, I want to welcome you guys to the channel. If this is your first time here or you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Cody Steck. I want to be your trusted real estate resource when it comes to buying or selling real estate here anywhere across the entire state of Utah. My team and I service the entire state, and we love helping people who reach out to us from these videos. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking about buying or selling real estate, make sure to call, text, or email me anytime. My information is here on the screen, and you can also find it in the description box below, as well as access to a ton of different information about schools, about different areas, our newsletter, our Facebook group. You'll find a lot of information there in the description box. So make sure to reach out to me. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the 4 quadrants of Salt Lake County. Okay, so now that we've got this pulled up, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So Salt Lake County sits, it covers basically everything that you see here in this map. So on the north end, it's going to cover this area here of downtown Salt Lake. On the west side, you have the Oquirrh Mountains. On the east side, you have the Wasatch Mountains, and then down here, they both kind of come to a point actually. So the mountains come out this way, it comes out this way, and then there's a big valley here in between that kind of separates you from Utah County here to the south. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump up here and take a look at our first quadrant. So this is going to be kind of the northwest quadrant of Salt Lake. Now, if you actually said to somebody, hey, I live in the northwest quadrant, they're not going to have any idea what you're talking about. That's just a term that I'm using here for the sake of this video. So that being said, let's go ahead and split this into the 4 quadrants. So this road right here, 215, this is the beltway that runs, kind of around this central eastern side of Salt Lake County. This is going to be kind of the middle line that separates the north end from the south end here in the county. So I'm going to use this 215 marker, and then it kind of just roughly comes across here through the West Jordan area. So this northwest quadrant is going to cover everything from the west side of downtown Salt Lake, the airport, Glendale, West Valley, Kearns, Taylorsville, Meadowbrook right here, as well as Magna out here to the west side. So taking a look at this area, you can see here, if we zoom in a little bit, that you do have the airport out here on the north side. Everybody's pretty much familiar with that. You also have the new prison here for the state that they just built out here. The reason why I point that out is that it's brand new and it just got moved from this area down here in Draper. So Draper's a very nice area. We'll talk about that here in a second, but it's worth noting that they did just move and build the new prison out here to the west side of the airport. So that just provides easier access to downtown for the courts. So something worth noting there. Now, if we zoom in here, you can see that this area is very heavily warehouse and industrial, right? You've got a ton of warehouse buildings all in this area. This is where you have a lot of shipping. This is where you have a lot of manufacturing and storage. The reason why is because you have I-80, which comes across here from the west coast, and then it's, they'll either switch trucks or anything, or, move things around, and then it can either go south down to Arizona, down to Vegas. It can go north up to Idaho, up to Wyoming, up to Canada maybe, or it can continue east and continue going further east across the United States here. So that's why this area is such a major trafficking hub for a lot of goods. So that's here in Glendale. Now, if we come over here, you've got Magna, you've got West Valley, you've got these other areas. Meadowbrook is not really a city, it's just kind of a neighborhood here. You've got Taylorsville, and then you got Kearns. So these kind of make up the other cities here in the area. Now, these areas, I'm just going to say that they're, probably, to be totally honest, just based off of facts, they're going to be the lower income areas for Salt Lake overall, Salt Lake County. So that being said, these are going to be the areas where you're going to find townhomes for probably about $300,000. I'd say maybe $250,000 to $350,000. You're going to find single family homes from about $300,000 to $500,000 in most cases. This is the area you want to go if you're really looking for affordable housing. There are pockets of nice homes and nice neighborhoods here, but you are going to find a lot of older neighborhoods that are going to be, lower income, to be just totally frank and honest, in this area. So something worth noting there, there are parts of towns that are going to be really old. I'm talking like homes from the 1920s. And then there's also going to be parts of the city that are built from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. So there are a lot of older homes here in this area. This is when most of the area of this northwest quadrant was built. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and zoom out here and take a look at Salt Lake City and the east side. So this is going to be kind of that northeast quadrant. Again, we're using the 215 corridor here as the southern end of this, and then we're going to split it here east to west along the I-15 corridor. Since this is your main road, you know, going into downtown Salt Lake, oops, I didn't mean to click that, and also your main freeway that heads south, that's going to be the dividing line there. So if we come over here to downtown Salt Lake sits at the very north end of the county. Obviously, Salt Lake City is the county seat and the capital of the state. So you also have these other areas. You've got Capitol Hill right here. You've got the avenues. You've got East Central. You've got Liberty Wells down here. You've got Sugar House right here. And then you have these other neighborhoods up here by the University of Utah. This is all going to be, you know, older downtown style of living. A lot of the houses here are going to be built in the 1890s, the 1900s, up to the 1920s, give or take, in most situations. So there are a lot of nice houses here, depending on what area you're looking at. You're going to be looking at houses anywhere from, you know, maybe 400,000 for something that's a little bit smaller and a little bit, you know, maybe needs some work, all the way up to $1 million plus, just depending on where you're at. Of course, if you go up into the hillside here, you know, up into the upper avenues or up here along the University of Utah or up here off of Foothill, you're going to find a lot of really nice houses, a lot of $1 million plus houses. And there's also some areas in here that you'll find some really nice homes as well. You've got Yellcrest, which is a very popular, very expensive, exclusive area of the downtown area. So again, over here in Salt Lake City, you can see it's going to be a lot of office buildings, kind of your typical downtown style. And then if you come over here to the east side, which is where most of the people live that are kind of close to the city, they're going to be here around Liberty Park. They're going to be up here in Yellcrest or even down here to the south in Sugar House. Generally speaking, for this part of town, the further east you go, the nicer it's going to get, and also the more expensive. So if you're comparing, you know, like Liberty Park here to Foothill, the East Bench is going to be more expensive. It's going to be nicer, and you're also going to get a newer, bigger home. So that being said, that's something that's worth considering. Sugar House is another really popular area. This is kind of the hip place to be if you are a younger professional or you just kind of want that downtown style living. This is an area that a lot of people are being pulled to. You have Westminster College right here, and then you also have, like we mentioned, the University of Utah. So there is a younger demographic, a younger population in these areas, and that's something that's you know, worth noting when it comes to looking for houses in these areas. So let's take a look at Mill Creek. So you've got Mill Creek City, which kind of covers this entire area here. Now you are going to have the distinction where you do have Mill Creek, which is going to generally be the west side, and then you have East Mill Creek. So if you said, hey, I live in East Mill Creek, people will actually know what you're talking about, and of course that's going to cover the eastern side here. Now if we come out here and zoom out a little bit, again, the further east you go, the nicer it gets, the more expensive it will get, and also a little bit, you know, more exclusive it will get as well. If you come a little bit south, you're going to run into Holiday, which is one of the most exclusive areas in Salt Lake County, and also most expensive. You can still find some really nice homes here, you know, single family homes for anywhere between, I'd say probably 600,000 to $1 million. And then you're going to have your big, you know, massive estates here as well. That's why Holiday is so nice. You've got a couple roads here where you're going to have your 5, 10, $15 million estates in the city of Holiday. So a really nice area there, but definitely not, you know, the majority. Majority of the homes are going to be between 600,000 to $1 million. Over here in Mill Creek, you get a little bit cheaper, but something worth noting there, you do have a couple high schools here, and then you've got Mill Creek Canyon up here to the east, which is a very popular canyon. Now, I do want to give a special shout out to Mount Olympus area. Again, a very popular area. It's a little hard to describe why this is so popular. I've actually made a video about it here on the channel. Just type in living in Mount Olympus or Olympus Cove, and you'll be able to find it. My video that I made specific for this area. It's a very exclusive area, and you have Mount Olympus right here. That's why it's called the Mount Olympus area or Olympus Cove, because it kind of sits right here in this little cove. So a lot of great houses up there. There's a lot of scrub oak. It's very mature. It's very private. It is in a hillside, so you do get some awesome city views, and you're also sitting right at the base of Mount Olympus, so you get some awesome mountain views as well. So one of the things that people love living there, and you also have a very large portion of mid-century modern homes. So if that's kind of your style, if that's what you like, definitely consider looking at this area. Hey, before we continue on, I want to tell you about our newsletter. This is something we've been doing for a while now, and I want you to be a part of it. You can find information to sign up for our newsletter down in the description box below. When you sign up, you're going to get a weekly email from us recapping the videos that we released this week, as well as some other news articles that were not quite worthy of an entire video to themselves. And we're also going to include other information about what's going on in Salt Lake, what it's like to work, eat, sleep, live, and play here along the Wasatch Front. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure to go in the description box below, click that link, enter your email, and sign up. Like I said, we're not going to spam you. It's just one email a week to keep you updated on what's happening here in Utah. I'd love to see you be a part of it, and let's get back to the content. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and continue our search south here to look at these other quadrants. So we did talk about Holiday a little bit here. This is going to be mostly suburban type living. You've got Murray over here to the west side. So Murray kind of sits on the west side of Holiday, and Murray will cover this entire area. That's actually where my office is located. It's pretty central to the middle of town. You've got the belt route here to the south. You've got I-15, and then this belt route does go up to the east side. So getting around from this area is fairly easy. Definitely a nice area. If you go into Murray, there's a lot of houses that were built in the 50s and the 60s, but you can find some new homes there as well. You'll find newer townhome developments and also some newer single family home developments as well. So mostly suburban type living there. Now let's actually go ahead and zoom out, and we're going to break up these two different quadrants, and then we'll talk about each of them individually here for the sake of this video. So again, we're using that 215 as kind of the barrier here, and then splitting it right here with I-15 right here along this area in the middle. So you've got the southwest quadrant over here, and then southeast. So we're going to start with the southeast quadrant just because we're here on the eastern side of the map already. This is going to cover cities such as Cottonwood Heights here to the north. You've got Midvale right here, and then you're going to have Sandy and Draper as you move down further south. Let me just actually zoom out a little bit so you can see this. Yeah, so we've got Midvale right here, Cottonwood Heights up here on the east side. Sandy is going to be your other city, and then Draper as well. So these four cities make up this southeast quadrant. As you move further south here in this area, you do get bigger, nicer, newer homes. You know, as you approach Draper, you're going to find a lot of homes there built in the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s, even, you know, brand new homes here in Draper, or there in Draper, I should say, is a definite possibility. So you're going to get bigger, newer, nicer homes as you move further south here in this area. Now, if we take a look at this right here, you can see the Cottonwood Heights again sits up along this eastern bench. A lot of people like living in Cottonwood Heights for access to the ski resort. So you've got Big Cottonwood Canyon right here, this 190, and then 210 is going to be Little Cottonwood Canyon, and then you also have I-80, which will come up here in this northern canyon, which is called Parley's Canyon, which will take you up to the Park City area. So all these red and blue lines you can see on the map here, I know it's kind of small, but this encompasses all of your ski resorts for this area. So if you're a big skier, you're a big snowboarder, Cottonwood Heights is definitely an area you should consider, or even just anywhere along this eastern bench, because you're going to be so close to the mountains. It's going to be super convenient for what you're looking for. So Cottonwood Heights sits on the east side. You've got Midvale over here, again, very suburban area. You've got Fort Union Shopping Center right here, very big, massive, popular shopping center. You've got Trader Joe's right here, which a lot of people love. And then you're going to have your other stuff like, you know, your Walmart, your Target. You're going to have a lot of different restaurants, you know, franchises, chains, stuff like that, right? So lots of options there in Fort Union. As you move further south, you also have a couple other things that I should point out. You've got like the Willow Creek Country Club, you've got Hidden Valley down here, and a lot that's in between, right? So if you're looking for suburban type living, Sandy is going to be a lot of homes built in the 70s and the 80s. You can find newer homes there as well, but most of the homes there will be 70s and 80s. And then we already talked about Draper as well for what to expect there. Again, the further east you go, the more expensive and nicer it will generally get. So if you're up here on the hillside, you can see that you're going to get some awesome views of the city. You're going to get mountain views, and therefore it's going to be a little bit more expensive. Now, I'm a little bit biased about this area personally because I live in Sandy. I really like it there. I actually grew up here just off of Dimpledale Regional Park. I actually just grew up right here, which is a cool little fact. But I really like Sandy. I think there's a lot going for it. You get nice, big, mature neighborhoods and mature trees. You get mature landscaping. So I really like Sandy. The reasons why is because you're so close to the mountains, so you get these amazing mountain views. You also get these bigger, more established neighborhoods where everything's basically built out, right? There's not a ton of new development going on, which I personally like. And you also have these neighborhoods where you get, you know, big, tall trees because the area was mostly established, 40, 50 years ago. You're going to get these areas where you've got these big, mature trees, and it just kind of has that more established feel overall. So that's something that I really personally like about the area. Draper is going to be very similar. You're going to get slightly bigger lots here in Draper, but it is going to be a little bit more expensive, across the board. If you're looking at a home in Draper, you should probably expect to pay about, maybe 10 to 15% more than you would pay for a home in Sandy, just because it's a little bit newer, a little bit bigger, and a little bit nicer overall. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our southwest quadrant. Now, this is the other area that I think a lot of people should consider. If you're thinking about moving here from out of state, this is an area that a lot of people are interested in. The funny thing about this is, having helped, hundreds of people over the last couple of years years make a move right here to the Salt Lake City area is that there's no one size fits all, right, for everybody. There's going to be people who want to live downtown. There's going to be people who want to live in the suburbs. There's going to be people who are looking at Sandy, or people who are looking at Daybreak, or maybe even down here, into Utah County. So there's a lot of pros and cons to these different areas, but to kind of cover this southwest quadrant, this is again going to cover everything here on the west side of I-15 and kind of the south side of the 215 area, give or take a little bit. So you've got West Jordan up here on the north side, South Jordan down here, which as well as Daybreak. Daybreak is technically a neighborhood within the South Jordan city. And then you're also going to have Harriman, Riverton, and Bluffdale. So these three cities are going to be feel very similar. Even South Jordan and West Jordan. Again, most of the development that happened kind of came down further south. So everything happened up here in the 50s. And then it was like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and as you move further south, that's when a lot of this development has happened. So like Harriman's going to be one of the newer areas for, at least generally speaking. Most of Harriman was built in the last 15 years, I'd say. So there's going to be a lot of spots in Harriman, and this is why people love living out here, especially even like Daybreak. People love living here because it's a new area. It's new, it's clean, there's low crime. And it just has that new feel, right? Everything feels modern. Everything feels up to today's standards. And that's what people love about living out here. So let's come up here and just kind of make our way down and just point out some important things here. So you do have Mountain View Corridor out here on the west-hand side to go north and south. You also have Bangerter Highway right here. And then you've got I-15. And if you're up here further north, you might use 215 a little bit. So you do have those main north and south roads. But again, you'll see that the east-west roads are kind of lacking. So if you're over here in Daybreak and you're trying to get up here to the mountains, you're going to have to, account for an extra 30, 35 minutes of travel time just to get from let's say Daybreak out here to the base of either one of these canyons. So something worth noting there, you are going to have some additional travel depending on where you're going. That being said, you also have the South Valley Regional Airport that we call this kind of airport number 2. It's mostly small plane traffic out of there, so you're not going to have any big jets or anything landing there. So nothing really to note with that. And then you do have a lot of areas here that are seeing new development. So if you come out here to this western side, this is going to be considered like Ochre, which is the reason why they call that. It's technically part of West Jordan, but it's going to be at the base of the Ochre Mountains. And so that's why it's called that, Ochre. So that being said, you've got a lot of nice homes here. You've got new homes that are all built within the last 5 to 10 years for the most part. And they're going to be the newer, more modern style, a little bit more expensive. You're probably going to be looking at somewhere between 500 to 800,000 for a new home out in these areas, but definitely a good option. If you want to live in Salt Lake County and you don't mind a little bit of a commute, going east, if you even need to go east, a lot of times you don't even need to. You don't even need to go that direction because you've got everything you need out here. So if you don't mind that, then this is definitely an area that I would consider and recommend to different people. Let's move a little bit further south and talk a little bit about Daybreak. So Daybreak is a master plan community, and it's one of those areas that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, right? If we actually click on this picture here, let's actually take a look at some of these pictures. So it's going to have a very traditional feel, and it's a master plan community, right? So they've really set it up to try and encourage, community type living. Now, the cool thing about it is you have this lake that goes, that takes up a large portion of Daybreak, and you can see you've got some lake houses here. So these are going to be really nice homes. These are all going to be $1 million plus, considering they're right on the lake, but you've got a lot of cool features like that. Even here's another picture, not a great picture, but you can kind of get the idea of what we're talking about here for Daybreak. So there's a zoomed out picture, and these are the style of homes that you're going to get out there in Daybreak. So generally speaking, a little bit smaller homes, a little bit smaller lots, and they're also going to be less private, I'll just say. But you do get a sense of community out there if you're living in Daybreak. So it's something worth considering. Again, if you're coming into town and you want to check it out, I think most people will say, yeah, you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. So something worth noting there. We talked a little bit about Harriman. Harriman is going to be a newer area, mostly built in the last 15 to 20 years. This could be a great option if you want that type of lifestyle where you get a new neighborhood, a new home, you get that new type of feel. Then Harriman might be a great option if you're not interested in Daybreak particularly. Same thing with Riverton and Bluffdale. These are going to be very similar, but you will find some older homes in here as well. Riverton, a lot of that was built, from the 60s through the 90s. So you will find some older neighborhoods there, but you will find some newer ones as well. And then Bluffdale is going to be relatively new as well. It is kind of actually more of an expensive area. You have homes that sit on bigger lots and therefore have higher prices. So if we zoom in here, you can kind of see that throughout some of these subdivisions, you've just got some really big lots. Like here's a great example. These are all going to be like half-acre to acre lots. So you are going to have, you are going to pay a premium for something like that. So that kind of wraps up this video here on Salt Lake County. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about the 4 quadrants. If you're thinking about making a move here, make sure to reach out to me. Call, text, or email anytime. My information is here on the screen. Don't forget to share this video with a friend or family member who might find some value from this video. And I cannot wait to hear from you guys. Like I said, I've had hundreds of people reach out to me saying, hey, I'm moving to Utah. I need your help. Where should I live? What type of home should I buy? And I love doing that. I love hearing from you guys. So call, text, or email anytime. And with all that being said, catch you guys in the next one.